Hi, Guillaume.
Hello, Valentin.
So, my name is Valentin. I'm the maintainer of the website programmingidioms.org, and I'm looking for an expert in the Groovy language. I think you have such a skill on your resume.
Yeah, so I'm Guillaume Laforge. I'm one of the co-founders of the Apache Groovy programming language that we created and launched in 2003. So I know a few things about that language indeed.
So, I have an important question for you. Are
Mhm.
there several flavors or dialects of Groovy?
Yeah, so since it's a language that is an alternative language for the Java virtual machine, and when we designed the language, we decided that we wanted, let's say, a Java syntax that is friendly to or for Java developers.
Mhm.
So there's a kind of copy and paste compatibility with Java, so that if you copy and paste some Java code, it should run for 99% of Java code as
Oh,
Groovy
interesting.
code as well. So you can keep all the semicolons, all the boilerplate code that Java can have sometime.
That's great. I
But
love semicolons.
yeah, for example. But as you learn the language, you learn its more idiomatic ways of doing certain things. Then your style is going to transition progressively into more idiomatic, groovy kind of code. So you can see sometimes when you see some examples of groovy code that, oh yeah, it must be a beginner coming from Java or
Aha.
an expert groovy developer. You can tell them apart.
Okay, cool. So I saw on Wikipedia that there existed Groovy 1 and then
Mhm.
Groovy version 2 and 2.5, 2.6, etc.
Yeah.
And now there is Groovy 3. So would
Mhm.
you say that the most idiomatic way to write some Groovy nowadays is always the Groovy 3 way? Or is it very important to keep compatibility with Groovy 2 and Groovy 1 and force oneself to be portable and compatible?
Right. So we've always had a big focus on backwards compatibility.
Mhm.
So there are sometimes some breaking changes, but usually they've been there for some good reasons. And we've always tried to ease the transition. So for developers who are progressively adopting new versions and migrating to new versions, usually the transition is fairly straightforward and there's not that much to change. And we tend to have, let's say, intermediary versions where we keep something that we said would be deprecated, so it would still work in the new version, but then in the next N+2, let's say, version, we're going to remove the deprecation, and developers will have had the chance to migrate to the new class, the new library, etc. So there's big efforts towards compatibility.
Okay, that's great. So I'm sharing my screen because
Mhm.
I think you've already heard of this website, Programming Idioms.
Yep.
So it's full of little problems like print hello on the screen, or how do I do a multi-line string literal in Rust or in Groovy. And those things implemented in many languages, including my favorite languages, Go, Java, and Groovy. So I did share a link with you.
Yep.
Oh, here it is. So it's in your screen, and
Yep.
this is the community backlog for Groovy.
Hmm.
So you see, the purpose of this page is to suggest to you, the expert, some possible contributions.
Hmm.
It's useful for people who are enthusiasts and want to contribute, but are not sure where to start. So this is basically a subset of idioms and implementations to review, to enrich, to create, if there is no such implementation yet for an idiom. Could you please scroll back up to the top? Yes,
Yep.
great. Thank you. So this first section here, expert validation, it's about reviewing some existing code. Um, for example, look at these snippets. Do they look correct to you? If you want to
Yeah.
iterate over map entries ordered by keys, is this how you would do it in Groovy?
So yes, this example looks pretty groovy to me. So for example, there's the use of closures here, or sometimes they are called lambda or functions in other languages. You can omit parentheses around these closures. There's
Mhm.
also the usage of the it parameter, which is the default parameter inside a closure.
Did you
So yeah.
mention you can remove the curly brackets?
No, it's actually a closure like this one is actually
Mm-hmm.
a parameter of the sort function or sort method.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
I
you
see.
can imagine that there's an opening parenthesis and a closing parenthesis, and inside that you pass a literal closure with those curly braces. But here,
Okay, I
since it's
see.
the last element, the last parameter of the function, you can omit the parents. So that's a typical groovy style. So yeah. That
So
looks
you
pretty
can
good.
mark it as good. Thank you, Guillaume.
Yeah, Mark, as good.
Can you scroll down to docs and
Yes.
demos?
Yeah, docs and demos, that's here.
Okay, so the second section, it shows some existing Groovy snippets that don't have a link to a documentation page yet,
Mhm.
or to a runnable demo yet. And actually,
Okay.
I'd like to know, is there a centralized authoritative doc site for Groovy?
Yeah, so that's actually the groovy-lang.org website. So this URL here.
Okay,
And well, it's the the home site, the website of the language. And if you click on documentation, well, there are two interesting links. There's learn and there's documentation. So learn, there are a few links to things like books, presentations, courses, etc. And on documentation, there you have the overall documentation. So some getting started guides, the language
okay,
specifications, and there are also links like here to the API documentation. Oh yeah, because it's at the bottom. For example, with the enhancements that we bring on top of the Java classes. So for example, if you're using, let's say, local date, there are extra methods that have been added by Groovy to decorate the existing Java classes to make them a little bit more groovy.
amazing. And is there some kind of a playground where you can write a piece of Groovy code, execute it, and share it with the world?
Yes, so there's an experimental one and the more historical one. So the one
Okay,
developers tend to use is this one, groovyconsole.appspot.com. So
okay.
for those who are familiar with those kind of URLs, it's actually an
Hmm.
App Engine, Google App Engine application. So that's why it ends in appspot.com. So here you can, type some code and hello Valentin and
Hello,
execute the
Groovy
script.
Web Console.
Yes, and see hello Valentin on the output. And you can share scripts, so you can see some recent scripts that have been added recently by some users here and there. So I'm not sure what I'm
Interesting.
doing. Yeah, so for example, this one.
Okay, cool. So you can extract a URL and share it, for example, with
Yeah,
programming idioms.
yes, for sure.
Okay, that's very cool. So if you come back to the community backlog
Yeah.
page, you see that these idioms, those three idioms implemented
Mhm.
in Groovy, they don't have a link to a documentation.
Okay,
Sometimes it doesn't make sense to link to a specific documentation page, that is fine, but
right.
very often there is one main feature that is showcased here and that we
Mhm.
would like to be able to follow a doc link to. What do you
Yep.
think about the first one, for example, save object into JSON file?
Yeah, so for example, the documentation perhaps of the JSON builder, we can look for
Yeah,
this class.
that would be awesome.
So either, let me close this one. So what's the best way? Groovy module guides may be, for example, working, oh, there's not, oh yeah, parsing and producing JSON here. And it talks about parsing JSON as well as JSON output. And there should be builders like JSON builder. I can click on this one. And that's the the direct link to the documentation for the JSON builder that is used in this example here. So
Cool.
if I
So you
click
can
on-
click add a
Yeah.
doc link. Yes.
Okay.
So that the edit implementation, and if you scroll
Right.
down, you have a field for a documentation URL where you can
Okay.
paste it. You will need to pick up a username, Guillaume
okay.
or whatever, if you have a cute nickname.
Mhm.
And you will also need to say why you're making this edit. And here it's just putting
Okay.
a demo URL, which is an extremely legit reason to edit.
And my nickname, save. Okay. let's see.
Okay, very cool. So you can come back to the community backlog page, and if you scroll down just a little bit, you see that some implementations don't have a runnable demo.
Oh, yeah.
And usually the snippet here in programming idioms, it doesn't contain a full-fledged Java class with a static public void main string, thing like that. It's not the whole program, it's just a tiny snippet that is ready to be copied and pasted somewhere. But it should ideally link to a demo, which consists of the full program that will print something to the standard output.
Yeah.
What do you think? Would you be able to
I can
use
take like this one, for example, at the bottom.
yes,
easy one.
handle invalid argument? I love that one.
Okay.
Would you be
So
able to produce a
very easy
demo?
one. I can just copy and paste this. Let's try if it throws.
Yes, but I would like you to declare the variable x,
Oh, yes.
otherwise it kind of
course.
doesn't make sense.
Equals invalid value. So let's
Minus
see.
one. Minus one is
Minus
not
one.
valid for
Yeah.
square root, except in some
For
cases.
example, yes. Execute. So I can check that Java long illegal argument exception is thrown. That's the one.
That is amazing. Would you be able to share the link to that
Yes, I can
snippet?
say publish
That
script.
demo?
Example throwing an illegal argument.
Oh, there's a CAPTCHA question. 4 plus 0.
Yes.
I think a robot would not be able to solve that.
You think so? Submit, and then I have a URL here.
Ah, great. That is an awesome contribution you're making here, Guillaume.
I add
So there's a button, yes, add demo link. So same little dance as before.
Summary thing demo or runnable demo.
Yes, runnable demo.
Right.
And you paste in
Is it
online runnable demo.
online runnable demo? Okay.
Yes.
Just above. Save. And voila.
Thank you. Let's do a last one. Some idioms don't have any Groovy implementation yet. Would you be able to write one for one of these?
So is it a coding interview?
No, it's not.
So let's see. Case insensitive string compare binary digits to byte array. Perhaps sum of squares. Let's see. So I would create a Groovy implementation of sum of squares.
Okay. Yes, sum of squares would be fine.
Sum of squares. How would I implement that? Back to console.
If you want to take inspiration from other implementation on the same idiom, you can.
Okay.
At the bottom, yes, you can see in other languages.
So let's say which one? Perhaps like Ruby. Let's see. What is it doing? Oh yeah, I like this one. So let's do. I can look at this. I can even copy and paste.
By copy and pasting Ruby. Yeah. That's an interesting one.
Exactly. And instead of, so I would tend to do it like this, def s. And initially, when we created the syntax for closures in Groovy, we took inspiration from Ruby, but we changed it a little to do it with an arrow. But in a very, very old version of Groovy, before Groovy 1.0 was released, we supported this notation like in Ruby. Then we removed that, the beginning pipe.
Yeah, I see copyright infringement.
No, not even. No, but there were some good reasons, because we wanted to support things like optional values and such. So, for
Mhm.
example, I or 1, 2, 3, and then do something. Okay.
Okay.
So we didn't want to have this issue here.
So for this code to work, you would need to define a list called data and to
Yep.
give it some initialized value so it can make sense. And at the end, of course, to print the result, or maybe in this Groovy Web Console, by default, you can just display something. I mean, if the code is returning something, then that something will be displayed, right?
This, or I could even do something fancier. Some of ints and $S for the interpolation. Let's
Will it
see.
work?
So of some
Yes.
is 55. So I won't double check the result, but I
I
assume this is
think,
correct.
yeah, I think it's good because the last one is 5
25.
times equals 25, so
Yeah,
roughly doubling
that
the whole
makes
thing.
sense.
Yes, it's probably right.
Okay.
Can you share that to programming
Okay.
idioms?
And the sum of ints and 7 for the captcha. I'm going to copy the URL as well. All right, so I think I need to copy the code. I guess.
The code and then
then
also the demo URL, yes.
Demo URL, that's this one. Here, runnable demo. Am I missing anything?
Yes, maybe you should remove the first and the last line because we are in the snippet we are not interested in initializing the values and we are not interested in the printing logic, just the very core of the idiom implementation.
Okay,
Okay, you can hit save.
Save.
Yeah.
Here it is.
That is amazing, Guillaume. Today you made 4 contributions to the website for the Groovy community. Thank you so much. That was very fun and very useful. And don't hesitate to share this video with your Groovy friends in case some of them would like to contribute too.
All right, that's great.
Well, see you around.
Thank you, Valentin.
Bye.
Bye-bye.